So basically this is a budget knife that I recently found out about on Amazon. I did a little bit of research, what I could, reading reviews and stuff. I think these things just hit the market in the last few months, so there's very little out there on them. In fact, it doesn't seem like anybody even knows how to properly say the name of the brand. You can Google search the brand and you're not going to find hardly anything on it. It's a Chinese made brand from some Chinese manufacturing company. Citivien, Citivien, I don't know, I've heard one reviewer say it that way, but I have no idea if he knew how to say it or not. So it looks like Citivien to me, but I don't know. Regardless of how you say it, though, the thing is getting good reviews. Uh, they have several models. They have some models with an axis lock, which I have not tried. I did. Um, I've read a few reviews that say it's great, others that it will tend to fail, which an axis lock really should never do. So I can't speak to the axis lock yet because I don't have a model with it on it. This is the first model and the only model I have so far, and of course it's a flipper with a liner lock. I will say the liner lock doesn't lock up super tight, it doesn't look like. You just barely get some contact there. But I haven't had any issues with it just from feeling it. It doesn't feel like it's going to close on your hand or anything. This is still pretty new. I haven't had any chance to really use it in any real world scenario. I don't know that I would trust my fingers to it to do anything that's going to be putting a lot of pressure on that lock. But as far as just keeping it from accidentally shutting on your fingers, which is really all a liner lock is good for, I think it's fine for that. So I said this is a budget knife. You can buy pretty much all their models of their knives for about $27 online on Amazon or elsewhere. Uh, $27 is a killer price point right now for a knife that has any decent quality whatsoever. So as far as the materials in this knife, on paper everything looks good. You've got G10 scales here. You've got D2 steel blade, and it says it on the blade here, D2. Um, Now whether it's actually D2 or not, I guess time will tell. Like I said, I haven't got a chance to really use it much, but I have no reason to doubt that it would be, based on anything that I've seen from others having used it or tested the knife. D2 is a decent steel. It's a good quality mid-grade steel. It's not like it's a super steel or anything. But if it is D2 at this price point, it's still pretty impressive. Um, it's got ball bearing action there, which is actually really good at this price point. Uh, Smooth. I mean, this thing definitely opens like a much more expensive knife. I've seen $100 knives that don't open that smooth, so $150 knives that don't open that smooth. So that right there is a big selling point, just the smooth action there. How long it'll stay that way, I don't know, but for right now, it is definitely very smooth action. You can tell I'm fidgeting with it. It's a great fidget toy. I love knives that open that smoothly. It's hard not to just sit there and flick them open and shut. Anybody who's interested in like drop shut action, this is probably the smoothest I've ever seen a knife do it. I mean, it's just very smooth drop shut. You can tell that action is just butter smooth there. I'm barely moving it, and you can get it going down. Just a little bit of a flick, and it shuts no problem whatsoever. So, very smooth action. No complaints there. Like I said, ball bearings, not something you expect at this price point. G10 is pretty smooth, pretty slick. It's not super grippy, but it's definitely G10. It has the feel of G10. I don't have any problems with that. So really, when I got to looking at this knife, what I would want to compare this to is a Civivi. Civivi knives, I assume you may know, but they're another budget brand that's out there, another Chinese-made knife. This is a knife made in China. Civivi, I've got nothing bad to say about them. I have a couple of those, and I've been extremely pleased with them so far. The craftsmanship is well above its price point. It's just a great all-around knife. So how does this compare to Civivi? Well, there are some differences. So for example, kind of a knife that I've been carrying quite a bit here lately, and I have it on me, so I'm going to pull it out, is the Civivi Baklash. Now, I don't have the blade cleaned or anything. That's not too bad, though. But the Civivi Baklash is probably one of the cheapest models you can buy through Civivi right now. And you can pick this up for about $37. So this is a $27 knife. This is a $37 knife. I would say my personal opinion for the $10, I would get the Civivi. Um, there's just that little bit extra there. It's still got the ball bearing, super smooth action, just like this knife does. You know, there's not really a huge difference there, but just there's something about the Civivi. You've got the now both of them have skeletonized liners, so that's the same. The different colors on the scales and the liners just kind of pops a little bit with the Civivi. But honestly, fit and finish is just a little bit better, and there's just small details. So I can show those to you here. If you look at the Civivi, you can see that the screws under the deep carry pocket clip are mounted flush, so there's nothing to snag up there. Now, admittedly, it'd probably be better if that lip was kind of inset within the G10. It's not. I haven't had any issues with that, but that would take it just a step better. But having the flush screws is a bonus. You look here at the, and I'm just going to say Sitivien. I don't know if that's right or not, but that's how I'm going to call it. If you look at this, you're going to see that they've got round head screws that stick and protrude way above the clip itself. So that I think is one thing that you're going to see is a little bit different in the quality. Both are perfectly centered. There's no issue with the centering. There's no blade play really in either one, so that's not an issue. One other thing that I've noticed on this one, you can see the screws where they're going into the G10. We've got this one that's pretty well flush mounted, which is great. Just sticking up just the tiniest bit. Then you've got this one here that's like the Eiffel Tower over here. This thing's sticking way out, and you feel that in your hand. It definitely is something that is noticeable. I wouldn't knock much off for that. It still feels good in the hand. It's still great build quality, but just a minor detail like that is what sets this one just a little bit less, in my opinion, than that Civivi. You've got the same thing over here. These screws are not flush mounted either. So between the screws and the pocket clip, the deep carry pocket clip, which it does have a deep carry, which is nice. You know, that the spacer, back spacer here is a little bit smaller, which means that you're getting a little less structural support in the middle there. There's no pillars or anything, so you've got some flex there that you're not going to have quite as much on the Civivi just because of the back spacer going further up. Action-wise, like I said, they're both butter smooth. I like the feel of the Civivi better, and I think it's because it has a lighter blade. Now, I will say this, though. If you were going to use one of these knives as a beater knife or a real workhorse, I honestly would probably go with this one. Look at the difference in the thickness of these blades. You've got a needle right here with the Civivi. I mean, this Baklash comes to a wicked sharp cutting edge, very thin behind the edge, great slasher, super thin blade. I've seen a couple videos where people tested the point on these, and it actually held up really well and better than I would expect. I've not done any torture testing on my knives. Maybe one day if I've got money to throw at knives that I want to break, I might try that. But for right now, it just seems wrong to take a perfectly good knife and destroy it on purpose. But anyway, the point holds up better than you'd expect for something that thin. However, I would not use this as a pry bar, which you shouldn't use a knife for anyway. I definitely wouldn't use it as a workhorse or a beater knife. Even though it has the price point of a beater knife, I wouldn't use it as one. On the other hand, this Citivien, I think I wouldn't have any problem using this as a beater knife. You can see how thick this thing is. It's kind of funny because it looks thinner back here. It's actually not. It's just the grind they do on the back. The actual meat is still there. But you can see how thick this thing is right here. You're not going to hurt that point. If this thing is made out of any kind of decent steel, if it really is D2, you're not going to hurt that point. You're not going to hurt this knife by banging on it a little bit, doing a little bit of prying with it. You know, nothing serious. It's not a pry bar. It's a pocket knife. But you're not going to hurt this knife too much. And it's $27. So if you do, you're not going to feel horrible about it for busting up a good knife. That being said, like I said, absolutely nothing to detract from this knife for $27. It is a great knife. I always had recommended the Ontario Rat 1 or Rat 2 as a starter knife for somebody just getting into knives who wanted a good workhorse knife at a low price point. You can pick those up for about $30 to $35. That's hard to say anymore. The fit and finish on these two knives, either one of these, is far superior to the Rat 1. And the Rat 1, only has Aus-8 steel in it, so the steel's not really any better than what's in these knives. In fact, maybe not as good as what's in these knives. Probably not as good. Um, so for $27, would I recommend this? Yeah, I would. I just think personally, for an extra $10, I'd rather get this. They're both great knives. Civivi has a great line of knives. Most of them run closer to 50. You can get some Damascus ones, which I have, that run up closer 75 to 100. But for the $50 knife price point, Civivi makes some killer knives, and you can't beat that. But for a knife that just hit the market, I am very impressed with this. Like I said, very small, little nitpicky things. But again, I feel silly even saying it for a $27 knife. This thing is way better than it has any right to be at that price point. And until I have a reason otherwise, I get this thing out in the field and it fails on me somehow, then I've got no reason to try and say you shouldn't use this knife or shouldn't pick this knife up. Great knife for that price point. So that's kind of my little review on this new brand of knife that's hit the market from China. Again, I'm going to go with Sitivien. It just looks that way to me. Whether or not that's right, I don't know. But I mean, China, I hate to say it, I don't want to give them anything. I'd much rather buy US made majority of the time. But they're coming out with some really good knives at killer price points. The Civivis, like I said, you can't go wrong, man. These things are just great knives. You want the quality of a $200, $250 knife as far as fit and finish and function, but just without all the money that goes into those super premium steels, Civivi's the way to go. We Knives is their, of course, I know a lot of viewers will know, but the We Knives is their kind of their primary brand. It's their top brand, top end brand. That's where you're paying the several $100s for a knife. Civivi is their starter budget brand. From what I can tell, Civivi has all the same quality craftsmanship. The difference in the price point is the steel. And this is still a decent everyday carry steel. This is not a steel that's going to cause you any issues. It's still going to get sharp. It's going to stay sharp long enough for you to be able to use it. You'll have to sharpen a little bit more than some of your really high-end premium steels, but it's going to be a lot easier to sharpen than some of those high-end premium steels. So I really, I can be a little bit of a steel snob at times as well, but I just, for this price point, you can't go wrong. I'd buy a Civivi all day long, twice on Sundays, man. This is a great knife. And it's funny that I'm spending so much time on this because this is not what I was reviewing. I was really reviewing this knife. And really, I'd recommend either one. $27, it's well worth it. If you can afford the extra $10, go with the Baklash from Civivi. Slightly better knife, more options as far as color. If you're somebody who wants something a little different, I usually go with black knives. This is one of the few knives I have that doesn't have the black scales. I thought, well, this was the first Civivi I bought. I thought, I'm trying a new brand. Why not try some new color schemes? But really, both great knives. You're going to be happy with either one.